I'm reading a book called The Ultimate Evil by Maury Terry. It's about the Son of Sam murders and the author's investigation into these notorious murders which took place in the late 70s in New York, primarily in the boroughs of Queens and the Bronx. And Maury Terry has various elaborate theories about what really happened and why the police didn't truly follow up on the leads that they ought to have, which suggested that there was more than one shooter and that the entire enterprise was linked to various other nefarious activities going on elsewhere. It's a fascinating book. I know it's controversial. I know people feel differently. I know lots of people feel various ways about it. I'm not really interested in having a debate about the topic of the book or Terry's um, theories at this point. I'm just intrigued and I just want to take it all in. Um, it's a very well written book for true crime. The true crime categorization. I guess there are uh, examples that are exceptions to this rule, such as In True Blood by Truman Capote, which I have not read, but I understand it's very well written. And there are probably a couple of other books like that are seen as being, somehow transcending the lurid and kind of generally thought of as disreputable genre of true crime, and actually achieving something close to literature. I don't know if this is the case with The Ultimate Evil. I do think Maury Terry is a very, very good writer. And so I'm open to the possibility that this might be a classic, but I'm not sure yet. And I don't know how I feel about his general thoughts about the subject matter. Here's something I do want to say. A moment that really struck me early on in reading this book. You had you have a situation early on where Terry is talking a little bit more about autobiographical stuff and how he worked as a journalist for a time, a freelance journalist, in New York, and he remembered the time that Martin Luther King was assassinated, and he drove through a particular neighborhood and observed just massive rioting taking place uh, in the wake of Martin Luther King's murder, and he thought this is a story that should be covered, and so he took lots of pictures and wrote up an extensive article detailing all of this rioting that was taking place. And he submitted it to the editor, expected to see it in the paper, and then he found out the next day that they chose not to run it, and that what they ran instead was that was a whitewash, was a flat out lie. It was basically an article saying there were no riots, and Maury was flabbergasted, and of course felt betrayed, and but more than anything else, he was just like, how could they do this? This was news. This was legitimate news. These riots were true, were actual events. They actually happened, um, and they just want to. They want not to talk about it. They want to pretend that they didn't happen, and they want the readers out there not to know that these riots happened. And that was a big turning point for him. It was an extremely disillusioning moment. And for me, it's just interesting that already, like, when was it that King was shot? 68, I think it was. Already back then, they were already doing the mostly peaceful riots thing. They were already putting a lid on the coverage of those particular types of riots, let us say, engaged in by a um, certain demographic. Now, Maury Terry, I should add, I think he thought that King being shot was a travesty, and I don't think he went into the, covering these riots with any kind of agenda. I think he thought, people are upset, people are angry, and they're acting out, and that's what and so that was what he had in mind in covering this story. But clearly, the official word out there, in the Mockingbird media, and we could already call it the Mockingbird media as early as 1968, probably earlier than that. I mean, let's face it. The news has been curated probably forever, probably as long as there's been news. It's been curated by powerful forces who want certain things to be shown and want certain other things to be left hidden. But that to me was a very interesting moment. It had nothing to do with Son of Sam, but it just showed the the way things. The more things change, the more they stay the same. We think the way the media has behaved over the last 7 years has been uh, some kind of divergence, and I think it has in certain ways. I mean, they've become, the mainstream media has certainly become much more open about the fact that they are not interested in truth, that they are only interested in pushing the agenda or the message or whatever you want to call it. But I think it's always been the case, and there's something about that that's weirdly comforting. I don't know. It's like uh, it's a strange reaction, but it's like, hey, it's been corrupt forever. That's nothing new. It's probably it's probably been that way. I mean, I don't know. There's when was there a time when it wasn't corrupt? It's sort of like the theological formulation of the Son and the Father in the Nicene Creed. There was never a time when he was not. you know, he's eternally begotten from the Father, and corruption is eternally begotten from the media. There you go. Anyway, those are my thoughts on this subject. Let me know what you think below. Thanks for watching.